thyroid is one of the results that you will find if you've gotten the blood chemistry screening. TSH is on your results, and that's an indicator of thyroid health and function.
That's right.
So first, just explain to us what your thyroid does, what it is.
Okay, so the thyroid gland is right here in your neck. It's shaped like a butterfly. It's fairly small, and it makes thyroid hormones. We call them T4 and T3 for short, and these are hormones that affect metabolism in your whole body. Every single cell in your body is regulated to some degree by thyroid hormone. It regulates how much energy they utilize and how efficiently all the different cells in your body do their job. So it's a critical hormone that it be secreted and circulate in the exact right amounts for the rest of your body to work properly. Every lab can have a different range because they all use different kits. The most common range that's recommended is 0.45 to 4.5.
Being too low or too high, there's different terms. Kind of explain what those are.
Right. So the most common thyroid disorder is hypothyroidism. Hypo means low thyroid function. So if the thyroid gland is not functioning, it's not making enough T4 and T3, the thyroid hormones. The pituitary gland responds to that by making more thyroid stimulating hormone to try to stimulate the thyroid gland to work better.
We're talking about heart health, so can you tell us a little bit about that? Like, why is it important?
So heart disease is the #1 killer in the United States, and that's true for men and for women. The best way to attack heart disease is to prevent it, not wait until it happens. So really our approach in terms of improving the health of the general population is to make people aware of the risk factors that cause heart disease, and then eventually, if they develop it, how to diagnose that and treat it. Some of the risk factors for heart disease aren't measurable. They're things like your family history. So you should know your family history. Do your mother and father or brothers and sisters, did they have heart disease? Do you smoke? That's a huge risk factor. But of the things we measure at the 9Health Fair, #1, we measure your blood pressure. That's a risk factor for heart disease. We check to see if you have diabetes. That's another risk factor. But what we're going to talk about today also is cholesterol screening and HSCRP, or high sensitivity C-reactive protein. So cholesterol is part of the plaques that form in our arteries, and so when we have heart disease, usually there's cholesterol in our arteries. So high cholesterol in the blood significantly increases the risk of heart disease. CRP is another test that we do to check to determine if there's inflammation. So when people develop plaques, when cholesterol gets into their arteries and causes a plaque, the plaque becomes inflamed, and that inflammation causes the production of a protein called C-reactive protein. C-reactive protein is a marker of any type of inflammation, so it will be elevated in people who have the flu. It'll be elevated if you've had a recent injury or you're sick. So if you're sick when you have this test done, don't worry, it's probably going to go back down. But if you're really not ill and you get this test and the CRP level is high, it may mean that you have inflammatory plaque in your coronary arteries.
For those that don't know, just talk about what diabetes is.
Sure. I think a lot of people think they know what diabetes is because they have family members who have diabetes, or
It's a common thing that gets thrown around.
Yes, it's very common, and we're seeing it increase. But I think what people don't understand about diabetes, or really know, is that it's a problem with one of the organs in your body called the pancreas. And there are different types of diabetes. Some people have type 1 diabetes, where the pancreas just stops making a hormone called insulin altogether. And that's common in children and adults. I think there's a misconception that only children can get it, but we see it happen in adults as well. And then there's type 2 diabetes, which is more common. We see that in a lot more people than have type 1 diabetes. And in type 2 diabetes, your organ called your pancreas stops producing enough insulin, or the insulin that it makes doesn't work well in the rest of your body. So a lot of people with type 2 diabetes or pre-diabetes feel fine. They don't feel sick. They may have some symptoms of high blood sugar, which would be going to the bathroom a lot, like urinating all night when you used to not do that, dry mouth, dry eyes, that sort of thing. but it's not something that you might urgently see a doctor for because
Right.
these things tend to develop slowly, so you
Okay.
don't see them. But yes, we look at glucose and then the A1C screening.
Okay, and then what should those, I mean, we have some ranges on here for
Sure.
glucose. It says 65 to 99 milligrams per,
Deciliter.
thank you.
Yep.
And then for your A1C, mine is 4.9 and it says as long as that's less than 5.7%, that's
Yep.
good. Percent of what? What is that percentage?
It is actually looking at your red blood cells and how much
Okay.
sugar is stuck to your red blood cells,
Okay.
basically.
Okay, so as long as that number on our results here are under 5.7, that's
You don't have
good.
diabetes
Are those
or
ranges pretty
prediabetes.
consistent?
Yes.
Okay.
Most people are deficient in vitamin D, and so when you get your 9Health results, they see that.
Yes.
Tell us kind of what is vitamin D and why is it important for your body?
Yeah, so vitamin D is a fat-soluble vitamin, and the body needs
Sure.
it to absorb calcium for strong bones, to form and maintain strong bones, and mostly you get it from the sun exposure as well as diet. So it's very important for your bones.
Okay, so it's important for your bones and some other things, and you get it from the sun, but so many of us are wearing sunscreen. What are some foods? Do you know about foods maybe
Yeah.
that have the vitamin D in it that you can eat?
Absolutely. So the best foods for vitamin D are fortified dairy products such as the orange juice, milk, those yogurt, those types of items, as well as seafood. A lot of seafood has a lot of vitamin D, like your salmons, your sockeye, different tuna, even egg yolks have a pretty good amount of vitamin D for folks.
You can get a vitamin D screening at a 9Health fair, and we just finished up our spring season. We're going to have fall fairs in September, but what if I just took my test, and what would be a normal range of my vitamin D?
Yeah, great question. So most experts would agree that a level between 20 nanograms per milliliter and 50 nanograms per milliliter is an adequate amount. Anything less than 20 is considered inadequate, and anything less than 12 would actually be deficient.